Land and Water Use by Alyssa Hooks, Elizabeth Cantu, and Sophia Prisky. APES, 3rd period, May 13th, 2016. The question that we must address is whether or not we will be able to find enough food for 9 billion people as it continues to grow. To evaluate feeding a growing population, human nutritional requirements are going to refer to the provision of essential nutrients necessary to support human life and health. Generally, people can survive up to 40 days without food, a period largely depending on the amount of water consumed, stored body fat, muscle mass, and other genetic factors. Poor nutrition is also a chronic problem. Lack of proper nutrition contributes to lower academic performances, lower test scores, and eventually less successful students. The 7 major classes of nutrients are carbohydrates, fats, fiber, minerals, proteins, vitamins, and waters. These are macronutrients, and the micronutrients are going to be minerals and vitamins. Then we can look at the types of agriculture. Agriculture is one of the most widespread activities in the world, but it is a character not uniform throughout. There are a number of ways to classify agriculture, and some of the major criteria can be adopted, including the scale of farming, crop and livestock combination, and the intensity of farming. For example, there is nomadic herding. This type is based upon the rearing of animals in natural pastures. This practice is followed by people of the semi-arid and arid regions. There's livestock ranching, where under the system of farming also there's a major emphasis laid on the rearing of animals, but farmers live a very settled life. This is going to be areas such as low rainfall, such as North America, South America, and Australia. Other examples are shifting cultivation, which is going to be adopted generally in the rainy tropics, where there's going to be cleared off forests to help with the slashing and burning technique. Also, there is rudimentary sedentary tillage. This is going to be another subsistence type of activity that refers to the foregoing terms of the fact. This is the same plot year after year. There are also commercial plantations. Though this is going to be practiced over a rather small area, this type of farming is quite important in terms of commercial value. The major products of this type of farming are tropical crops such as tea, coffee, rubber, and oil palm, etc. This type of farming has developed in parts of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. We can look at the situations of the Green Revolution, specifically genetic engineering. Proponents of genetically modified organisms are going to be optimistic because of the confluence of social, commercial, and technological forces that are going to be boosting the case for technology. All this means is that there's going to be an inherent benefit to genetically modified foods. A proposed benefit of GM foods is that they can produce a potentially higher crop yield, which could feed more people in developing countries. But there are also issues. A worrisome issue with genetically modified food is that the ability of food to trigger allergies in humans. Some of the genes used in GM technology might be taken from a food that causes allergies in some other people. Then we can look at the generation of the Green Revolution in regards to crop production. The term Green Revolution is going to refer to the renovation of agricultural practices beginning in the 1940s. Because of its success in producing more agricultural products there, Green Revolution technologies spread worldwide after Mexico in the 1950s and 60s. What this means is that we can evaluate the fact that there are going to be 2 main types of agriculture, subsistence and commercial. Many subsistence farmers use slash and burn or swidden agricultural techniques. The swidden technique is used especially prevalent in Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. And then a portion of the land is going to be cleared and burned up to provide 1 to 3 years of good crops for that portion of land. Then, the second type of agriculture is commercial agriculture, where the primary purpose is to sell one's product at a market. This takes place throughout the world and includes major fruit plantations in Central America, as well as huge agribusiness wheat farms in the Midwestern United States. Look at deforestation and forest fires. First, we can look at selective and clear cutting. Clear cutting is cutting of all trees in one area. The first positive aspect is that this is going to provide more light for new trees and allow for the burning for the natural reforestation of some species. Lastly, it's going to be the cheapest method. Then, the negative aspects are that some species of animals may die out during the process of clear cutting because their habitat has been destroyed. And because of the lack of protection, the other trees may have come damaged by wind, as well as there will be less jobs in the forest industry because you have no more trees. Then we can look at selective cutting, which is cutting only the mature trees in one area. The positive aspects are that reforestation occurs naturally, which means that the trees nearby grow better and the diversity of species is continued. But the negative aspect is that this type of cut is going to be more expensive out of the two. Then we can look at a very famous forest fire that occurred in 1871, the Great Peshtigo Forest Fire that occurred in northeastern Wisconsin and upper Chicago. The Peshtigo Fire was a forest fire that took place on October 8, 1871. It was a firestorm that caused the most deaths by fire in the United States history and was recorded to be the deadliest wildfire ever, with an estimated deaths of around 1,500 people. Occurring the same day as the more famous Great Chicago Fire, the Peshtigo Fire has been greatly forgotten. Types of irrigation. We can look at drip irrigation, which is going to be the most efficient method of irrigation. Water drops right near the root zone of a dripping motion. If installed properly, you can steadily reduce the loss of water through evaporation and runoff. Then you can use sprinkler systems or sprinkler irrigation. This is an irrigation system based on overhead sprinklers, sprays, or guns installed on permanent risers. You can also have a system buried underground and the sprinklers rise up when the water pressure rises. Or we can look at spray irrigation or rotary systems. This method of irrigation is best going to be suited for larger areas, for the sprinklers can reach up to distances of 100 feet. The word rotary is indicative of the mechanical driven sprinklers moving in a circular motion, hence reaching greater distance. This system of water allows for a large area with small amounts of water to be watered over a long period of time. Then, sustainable agriculture. In simplest terms, sustainable agriculture is the production of food, fiber, or other plant or animal products using farming techniques that protect the environment, public health, human communities, and animal welfare. So, sustainable agriculture is going to be very important because what it actually allows for us to do is to create a system where everything is used. Society is going to be netting a benefit from food quality and safety, and rural and social economic conditions. The economy profit because food supply will increase, farmers' income, and then there will be sustainable food products. And then the planet is going to also net a benefit because we're going to be making sure that the soil, air, and water is actually going to be kept cleaner. Therefore, crop and animal health and welfare grows exponentially. And integrated pest management. Also known as integrated pest control, it is going to be a broad-based approach that is going to integrate practices for economic control of pests. IPM allows to suppress the pest populations below the economic injury level. Integrated pest management systems are going to be systems that eliminate or mitigate economic and health damages caused by pests, minimize the use of pesticides and the risk to human health and the environment associated with the pesticide applications, and they use integrated methods, site or pest inspections, pest population monitoring, and evaluation of the need for pest control, and one or more pest control methods including sanitation, structural repairs, mechanical and living biological controls, and other non-chemical methods. And if non-toxic options are unreasonable and have been exhausted, the least toxic pesticide. Next, we can look at urban land development, specifically planned development, suburban sprawl, and urbanization. Planned development is going to be residential and commercial buildings. They're going to use around 1/3 of all energy and 2/3 of all of the electricity in the United States. They're going to be getting tax incentives for less polluting forms of energy, and they're going to look for resource-efficient building techniques and materials. Planned development is also going to strive for indoor air quality, water conservation, recycled materials, placing buildings near public transportation hubs, and creating an environment that are going to be pedestrian friendly. Then we can look at suburban sprawl and urbanization. Experiencing the greatest growth in urbanization are going to be countries such as Africa and Asia. Reasons are going to be access to jobs, higher standards of living, access to healthcare, the mechanization of agriculture, and access to education. All of these things are going to increase the rapid economic growth. Now, the difference between suburban sprawl and urbanization is that a suburban sprawl is going to move from an urban region, such as a highly dense city, to a suburban outskirt area, creating a commuter zone. Whereas an urbanization is going to be moving from a rural area to the dense populated city, so then you can create a city or an urban area.